Welcome everybody. My name is Amanda Jenkins and I shall be doing this session this morning. The session is to look at our most popular slings. So we've looked at the most popular slings we sold last year and we're going to introduce them, talk about them. They vary, to be fair. They range from standard products to in-situ products to harnesses. So we've got a selection. Hopefully we'll get through them, but I encourage questions, please talk to us so that we can help make the most out of the session. We will record the session so that it can be viewed for anyone that's missed out or has to leave, but we should get through within about 45 minutes. So to start with, I'm just going to introduce my colleague, Judith. Jude's going to help me. Morning. And we're just looking at standard slings. So this is our very basic standard fast fit. So it's a very general style, a very universally known sling, very popular, often the first full body sling that will be used. It's called lots of things, and I think with slings they can be very confusing, but the best thing is to recognize the shape and understand what that shape can do and the limitations of that shape. So hopefully we'll explain that as we go. But this is the very general fast fit. It's also known as a universal, quick fit, easy fit, general purpose. So lots of names for this particular shape. Well, the Silvalea name is the fast fit. So just talking about some requirements for a sling to ensure suitability. So what's really important if you're new to slings is to always make sure that you've got really good, clear information. The label is legible with all the safety instructions on there. So Silvalea slings have woven labels which tend not to fade. So some are printed and then they can fade with laundry, strong powders, high temperatures, but the printed ones really keep their legibility, the woven ones there. So on the label, there is always the safe working load. All standard slings will have a safe working load of 220, which is 35 stone. And that's even the small sizes to the extra, extra large. And that's because everything on the sling, the webbing, the binding, the threads, the stitches per inch, everything's been calibrated to ensure that safe working load. So they're manufactured to the same specification. So the standards will have a 220, 35 stone weight limit. There is a recommended washing temperature, and the maximum we recommend is up to 85, and a low tumble dry or air dry. Often if slings are exposed to strong biological powders, they have a bleaching agent within. So it tends to bleach out the colour and cause accelerated wear. And also if you are exposed to high temperatures, we can tell by the wadding bunching. So it all shrinks up. So if it's exposed to high temperatures, then we can always tell. Fading can occur when strong biological powders are used. So we recommend a good non-biological. Often the cheaper ones will have a whitening agent. So the whitening agent acts like a bleaching as well. So it's a case of just checking that you've got some good quality, just so that it lengthens the life of the product for better value. But alongside the label, then we've got sizing labels. Again, they're woven. Across the board, general companies will have the same colour coding. Small is red, medium is yellow, green is large. It's higher or lower temperature sizing may change. But there's also a colour coded handle. And we've reintroduced colour coded binding. So those that have products from Silvalea may have the ones that have the sort of purpley binding, but we've now reintroduced the colour coding, which it means that you can see at a glance what size the sling is if they're all lined up, You can go to the small, which is the red, straight away, so it's quite clear. So that's happening now. Standard slings like this will have handles on. These are the positioning handles to help guide, but more specialised ones won't because of the potential pressure. So the requirement is to have them on standard slings, which we've got here. So that's really roughly everything about the requirements for the sling, but the label is the most important. If you cannot read the safety instructions on the label, then you need to withdraw the sling. So Lola states that the label is legible, so it's got to be clear with any safety instructions clearly legible on the label. There's also a unique serial number for traceability. So we have lots of additions on our labels, the type of hoist that's required. So if it's a standard coat hanger type, then that's on the label too. Also the code, so the product code's on there if you need to reorder or you're not sure what you've got. So you've got all that on the label. I hope that's clear. Are we okay? Any questions, Ree? We're good? Do you want to add anything? No, that's fine. I'm going to just put this on Judith, just so that we can just look at this. And of course, Jude's very able-bodied and she's very helpful and compliant. And I've got a nice open chair. So we're going to cheat a lot, but the quickness and speed of the session is just easier. So with all things like this, which has got a divided leg, the key thing is to get it down as low as possible here within the chair. So make sure if you've got someone that can lean forward, ensure you get it to the base of the seat. Don't worry about the top bit here. This will sort itself out when we hoist. And then it will help to get the leg paddles in the right position. So the leg paddles need to go towards the back of the knee. Don't start with it too far up. It will bite into the groin when we hoist. So ensure you start with it towards the back of the knee. And then we've got a loop there to cross them over. If you don't cross the legs, they will naturally splay. So it's dependent on the situation, but we start, standard instructions will explain cross the legs. But if you've risk assessed for suitability, you don't want them crossed, that's fine, as long as it's documented. So I'm just going to bring in this hoist. So this is our hoist, actually, which has these nice shore clips, which actually means you've got to lift the clip to ensure that the loop's put on. So it's quite a good feature. It's also got, this particular one has got emergency lowering facility and emergency lifting. So quite a great feature if you've got someone that's on the floor and you need to get them up and the power's gone, so it's got both of that. Anyone that's interested in the hoists though, please look on the website and ask for further information. But I'm just going to put this on short shoulder. We get on short shoulder, long leg, which is a standard start, just to ensure that we've got it in the right place. Let's have a look. Yes, when you're hoisting someone for the first time or each time you apply, just make sure don't go too far without checking. All right, Jude? Yes. That we've got everything on, everything's lined up and none of the loops have popped off. Okay. So as I said, this is a general standard sling. It's a very simple sling, that's why it's so popular. And it will be suitable for very standard scenarios. So think about any standard situations, compliant, symmetrical shapes. It's going to be a good start. It's a full body sling, it's giving full support. There's an aperture there, so you can carry out hygiene transfers if you have removed clothing, but it will just give a very straightforward transfer. So that's why it's so popular, very straightforward. So think about using it for standard situations. If you have, however, someone that's more active, Jude, if you're very good at being active, you know, this is going to jump into their groin, bite in. So for that type of situation, it's not so great. We'll look at another style. But think about your standard situations, then you should be all right. The other thing that can happen is as these leg paddles come through here, they go up to the hoist. As this pulls, it can pull the leg through, slightly externally rotate the hip. So if you think about anyone that's got painful joints, arthritis, osteoporosis, anything fragile here, that subtle pulling as it comes through, then could make a big difference for comfort. So we wouldn't suggest that. So anyone that has got hip problems or, you know, they've got a lot of pain, we look at a different style. So just treat it as a standard. We can add things to it, and I will show you, we've got things you can add, like a head support, neck support, hip tapes, waist support, chest support, things like that can be added. It can be in a different fabric for bathing, so the mesh fabric. I'm just going to also show you another way of applying it. So the leg sections, because they're quite long, and take them under both legs to hammock. So we just show you simply like that. So you're creating a seat. And what this does then, it will close the legs together. So you've got to think about, will that have an impact on the hips, the knees, because it's going to do that. But it will create like a seat. If we're hoisting like that, I would suggest probably you slightly recline. You don't want to be too upright. You wouldn't use this application for someone that's wriggly. And you think about the knees, and as it's close together, will that cause a problem? And maybe you would want to add a chest strap or waist support. The reasons you use this is perhaps if you've got someone that's very compliant, someone that wears a skirt or a dress that doesn't want the divided leg pickup. So the options there, because the leg sections are really long on this style, so you know you can easily apply it like that. So that's another application. We okay, Ree? Any questions? Okay. I'll just show you the information that's on the website to support the style. So every product we've got, it's got a really good page on the website to help you. So rather than remembering everything. So if we just bring that up, and I'll just explain, because there's lots of helpful images, information, codes, instructions of use, videos, and this particular one we've just looked at, which is the fast fit there with padded legs. You can see the descriptions are there, the fabric options, all angles of photograph, so you can see how it looks on a person, and the sizing, standard sizing. Then underneath, this is a really good data sheet. So every product will have a data sheet to help with sizing and coding and what's available. So where to measure. And these are all downloadable. So certainly, you know, it's there for you to help support your information. Thanks, Ray. So talking about measuring, so we know measuring, just if you stay there for a minute, measuring is always tricky. Although there's a standard guide, for this style, we ask for the measurements around the shoulders. So just at the top of the shoulders, where it's a little bit broader, not the very, very top there, but just go down a few centimetres, about 10 centimetres down where it's a bit broader there. So that's one measurement we ask for. So that's the shoulder circumference. And then Julie, if you stand like this. For this particular style, the knobbly bit of the neck, C7, down to base of spine. So just those two measurements then, thanks Jude, you can look at the chart and it will tell you the sizing you require. If you need a size that is mix and matching, then we can sort of do an extra large or width, or we can mix and match sizes. You just need to talk to us. If you find that you need something totally tailored, then talk to us as well. We've got help certainly we can help you with assessments now in various ways. So you just need to let us know.
Also, in the illustrated is the actual sizing of the sling, isn't it? If you want to check against the current one.
Yeah, so there are you've got the width there and the depth there on the chart.
See it here on the chart.
So that's that first class. If you hold that a minute. So that's one of our really popular styles, and so is this one. So this is again a standard sling, but it's called a Fast Fit Deluxe. The really very popular Fast Fit Deluxe, or Quick Fit Deluxe, Easy Fit Deluxe, or hammock. Sometimes it's called a hammock, but you can see the difference. It's a very different shape. It's quite square, and the legs sort of come around to be quite square, and it works in a different way. Let's just explain. Again, it's a divided leg, thanks, June, so you can put it in a chair. Right to the base of spine. These leg paddles now, they're very square ones, and they come around the femur and wrap around each femur fully. It's a bit more of a fiddle. But you can see you've got these big square paddles, and then a modesty strap here that will connect the legs together to prevent them from splaying. And then we have this tape on the outside that you connect through the inner one there. So this is giving us an outside pickup. So compared to the first one that came through the legs with the potential to externally rotate the hip, this now picks the leg up from the outside. So much more stabilising and more comfortable. So anyone that has got pain, then I would suggest a sling that has an outside leg pickup. This is a very popular style. It's very well known within the industry. Yeah, we'll go long leg. Called lots of things, as I said. We call it Fast Fit Deluxe, Quick Fit Deluxe, Easy Fit Deluxe. But just get familiar with the shape so we know that what the shape does. To line this up a bit. Okay. Yep. We'll just take up the sack, okay?
Yes.
So with this one, we've got lots of freedom now. We haven't got the legs coming between and into the face. So again, for patients, it's much nicer shape. It is still a full body sling, so it's giving full body support. You can see here, there's still access for hygiene if we need to. It's quite a generous shape, so sizing can be tricky across the shapes. It's a little bit long for Judith. It's sort of naturally creating a bit of a head support there. But that's fine. We've got it down low enough. We've got the leg section towards the back of the knee, so everything's in the right place and giving the right support. But you can see the paddle, that leg paddle's giving full femur support here. If Jude's a bit wriggly, so you can see the individual paddles are sort of working independently. So much better for a wriggler. Anyone that's sort of slightly more asymmetrical, maybe with a curvature, then the legs will naturally readjust together or, you know, align in the right place. So lots of pluses. Outside pickup, as I said. Good for long limb amputations. So anyone that's got a long limb, so knee and below, the residual limb will sit within that leg paddle. Amputees can be quite tricky, particularly if they're very high or through hip. Then we look at a different shape. But certainly long limb amputees, this is a well-known sling that's been very successful. So the other thing we can do is, because it's got such square legs, is you can hammock it. So the leg sections will hammock very well. Just show you that. But this is the polyester version. We do it with in mesh, and it can have a head support, chest to waist strap. the things that we added on. So if we just lay the legs on top of each other, do that. It just close the aperture up a little bit. You take the long tape through the short tape to create that. And again, if you're doing that type of pickup, then it's important to check you're not too upright, or wouldn't use it if you're a wriggler. Be mindful it's going to close the hips and knees together, and maybe add a chest or waist support. We good? Any questions? Everyone's okay? So that's the Fast Fit Deluxe. So the next very popular one is our Access toilet sling. So these we know are very popular because of the hygiene and the access you get. But compared to the first two, you will see there's not much to it. So it has to be very carefully risk assessed for suitability. So just pointing out a few things for the Silvalea version, we always have a Velcro and a clunk clip waist support. The Velcro is really good as long as it's clean. It's not full of debris. So always encourage everyone to close the Velcro together when it's not in use and also when it's being laundered, because it will catch and snag and it will fluff up, particularly the binding. So we often know when a sling has got Velcro damage, it's because the Velcro has been left open. The waistband here is stitched as far as we can. So it comes right round the side here to the sides. And that actually gives a lot more support than some styles that are stitched right back in the centre. So it goes right to the side, so a really good feature. And the leg sections have a bit of scalloping. So the scalloping there helps with just having a little bit more access to clothing. But it's not easy removing clothing. We often asked for tips, and it's tricky. We know it's tricky. You've got to have loose clothes. Thanks, Jude. Loose and baggy. Do you want to have a seat? It's easy to put on. You're only getting to the belt line. So Jude just puts it on quickly. You just put it on. We're in a hurry. You've got the belt line, the belt there, the clunk clip buckle. The leg sections, as before, ensure they go towards the back of the knee and that you cross them. Waist. Arms are on the outside of this. So we just hook it up. Jude, I'll go on green. The arms are positioned on the outside. This one's got padding actually under the arms, but we do ones without padding. And if it's in the right place and it's the right size and the right situation, you don't necessarily need the padding. You okay? So these, you can see that they're very popular because of the access. Have a look at Julia's access. So we can see we can get to the belt line here. So for clothes removal, it makes it easier. However, if Judith had poor to low body tone, the likelihood is she's going to slip. This is what can happen. And you probably will have come across people that think that's still okay, but sadly it's not. And it might be that it's the wrong style of sling. So I will just share a couple of tips with you, because we can put the sling on in a more careful way to help lengthen the life of the style with the individual. And there's 3 tips. So just start again. The first tip is to make sure you've got this band, this waist support at the waist. It is a waist support, not a chest support. So it's got to go low as possible. And if you're removing clothing, make sure belt of the trousers or pants are below that, pull them down before you put that band on. So shimmy the clothing down first. So make sure you've got that low and the webbing strap as firm as possible. So we've got to do everything to keep the sling down and prevent it doing that. So keep it down low. That's the first tip. Let's go in again.
We climbed on the green.
Oh, you want to go on yellow? Yeah, that's fine. Didn't want it to
No, I'm just thinking it might be a bit more required than it always.
Right.
Let's try it.
So we've gone,
A bit more upright.
we've started it low. And then the next thing is, with most people, so you're in the sling, you put the hoist on, the hoist takes up the slack. Naturally, your body then lengthens and thins out. It happens a lot. At that point, check the waistband, because all you need to do is pull on that webbing strap. So with that, just check as you take up the slack, keep it. It will then help to keep the waistband down, which is what we want to do. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's 2 tips. Fit it low and firmly at the waist. Retighten as you take up the slack. And let's just check. Oh, it's all right.
Yeah.
Much
Very
better.
well.
But the third tip is always think about going down a size. You don't want this style to be generous, because if it's too big, then you know you're going to slip through it. So those 3 tips really do help, but fitting it properly, hopefully will ensure longer term use. Sadly, though, there will be a point where you have to move on to something more full body, which we do have the next level. So if toileting slings are something that you need to explore, then have a look on the website. The low convenience, the low back styles have a deeper back, but really good access. They've got really good access to the belt line. So they're really good options.
So how would we measure for this one?
So measuring for this one, let's just take it off. So because it's a different shape, we need to take different measurements. And it will explain it on the website, but I will just show you. So for this style, you need it'll be around the waist area here and underarm to waist. So those measurements there. So you've got the right depth and the right circumference there. It's slightly different.
Personally, I think that one's a bit longer in the length for me. The size I had
Yeah.
was probably a little longer in the length, but I needed the body measurement.
So Judith, interestingly then, will need the extra small length, but the rest of it small.
width.
So that's where you can
Mix
just
and
mix and match. We good? Any questions? Okay, we're going on. So we've seen 3 of the most popular standards. The next one, let's have a look what we've got here. I would say will be our leave-in one. So this is our In-Situ Deluxe. So the In-Situ Deluxe is a specific shape and in a special fabric that you can leave in for extended periods. So leave-in products often wants lots of debate. How long can you leave it in? What's a leave-in? What's an in-situ? And it's all really down to risk assessments. We give you these options and we can give our knowledge. But this one is particularly good and has worked very successfully for many, many years and is one of our most popular styles. This is a deluxe shaped leg. So we talked about deluxe earlier. So we will talk about that again. And this is made in a fabric that's called Superfine. So Superfine is unique to Silvalea. It's a lightweight mesh that has a 4-way stretch. which is really good to hug curvatures, asymmetrical shapes, but it also has Coolmax within the properties of the fabric. So Coolmax is an additive that's used to help with wicking away moisture. Often you see it in t-shirts, athletes' t-shirts and things like that, but it's a great, it helps with keeping the moisture away from the body. So this is the super fine. There are 3 different options of fabric for leave-in slings, and I will talk about them as we go, but this is the super fine single layer. You can see it's a mesh. It's a fine mesh, so you can use it for bathing as well. Often people will have this fabric because it's softer and nicer than the standard poly, but because it's a mesh, you know, the water will drain through. The single layer has a weight limit of 64 kilograms, which is 10 stone. And that's because there's so much stretch. So if you put a heavier weight in, it'll just stretch and stretch before it actually lifts. If, however, you have someone that likes this fabric, but is heavier, then we double layer it. So it just has 2 layers, and that stabilizes it and takes the weight limit to 220, which is 35 stone. And the third option of fabric is the black spacer, which I'll show you in a minute, in another style. If I just put this on Jude, so it applies the same. Leave-in slings are usually manufactured to include a head support, but they can come without. And they're made slightly differently. So they're made all in one piece without a seam for the head support, no handles. So we've made it as smooth as we can. And they're usually slightly shaped so that you bucket within them. So, you know, just so that the sling is mirror imaging the body shapes and the contours to be as smooth as possible and to avoid bulk. This is the deluxe shape. So there are other shapes, but this is one of our most popular shapes, where the leg panels wrap around the femur and the leg sections will have the slip fit. So a slip fit fabric to help with inserting. And they are then connected with this modesty here. This is a modesty loop, this red one, and then an outside tape. So we talked about the benefit of the outside tape. A bit there. So it picks the legs up from the outside, which is good. Just tuck that one along. But bring in the hoist. I think all slings will have colour-coded loops on the tapes, but that's really for referencing for positioning. Which we go on yellow. Mm-hmm. Often, you know, when you're starting off with assessing, you'll find the right style, then you'll work out the right positioning. And then once you've got the optimum position for your patient, we then, you know, document it in the care plan. But we just, as normal, just take up the slack. This has got, let me just explain, a head support tape as well. So the head support tape can work in different ways, which I will show you. I'm just hooking it up. And then I've got a tape here, which I'm going to hide and tell you about in a minute. All right, you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, just make sure everything's pulled down. You check that. So it's the deluxe shape, which picks up the leg from the outside, which we know that is helpful for support, outside pickup, so good for wrigglers, individual paddles, so good for anyone that's active. Thank you very much, Judith. The fabric, though, because of its stretch, is really hugging Judith's contours. So it's giving lots of support. It's a full body sling. There is a little bit of access, but toileting, you know, can be a bit tricky, but there is access if clothing's removed. Let me just explain the head support. There's options of head support application. it comes with these bones, these stiffeners. Do you put your head back? Often people take them out because then it naturally follows the head there, which is fine. You know, they have to come out for laundering, otherwise they'll just bend. But you don't have to go back as long as you've got the head support attached securely. And it can be attached individually like that. So you go direct to the hoist, which often that direction is better for support than threading it through the shoulder loop. So the other option is to fix it through the shoulder loop and then back through the slider, two sides of the slider, and secure it there. There's two options, depends on what's preferred. Often people do that because they've only got the legs and the shoulder to hook up. They haven't got that third option, but you know, the option's there. And the reason you can do either is because the head support's attached by this twisty loop here. Twisty loop there means that it finds its optimum pickup. Have we got any questions? I thought see something flashing up.
Can this sling be removed and put on with a client in a wheelchair?
Yes, absolutely. I'll explain that. Yeah, you know, although it's got a label of being suitable for leave in, you can take it out. It's just people do like the fabric. It's a very nice fabric. Let me just remember what I've said. Yeah, oh no, I need to tell you about the hip tape. What we've done, so this is a great go-to style. I would always suggest this for someone that's a little bit more challenging, more complex. They're not symmetrical, they have disproportionate shaping, more challenging behaviour. It's a really good go-to because of the support from the legs, the individual control, and then we've got the option of adding another tape. The hip tape is an addition, you need to request it. But they are removable or they can be fixed. And it's a tape like that with a slider buckle. And then a little bar there to stop it from losing the loop. But you need to, once it's fixed on, knot it on. They are very helpful if you've got someone that has got extreme pain. If you've got someone that's got extreme pain in the hip, what the hip tape can do is lift the hip. If you imagine you're hoisted like that, taking a tape here, it will lift the hip, distribute the weight, and take pressure from behind the knee. So they're really, really helpful. You need to get it set, and we'd have to do that by lowering Judith down to get the tension right. You get the slider buckle to the same tension as the leg. So it picks up, it's not doing anything now, but if it's tight enough, it would subtly lift the hip. Makes a big difference. If it's too tight, of course, it's going to force the hips up first. So you need to really make sure you've got the setting accurate. Or if it's too loose like now, it's not doing anything. But trust me, it's really helpful. Also, if you've got someone that's very asymmetrical and has significant curvatures, leans, their legs are windswept, you can adjust the hip tapes asymmetrically so that one side shorter, just so it's a safer transfer. Right, that was a question I saw.
Yeah, I've got two questions.
Okay, let me just lower Julie down a little bit and then I'll answer the questions. Okay, Bree, what have you got?
What would be the purpose of head support being attached to shoulder straps and back again? Does that offer any other positioning?
So having it threaded through, it just reduces another attachment. So I've threaded it through this shoulder one now, and it means the carers have only got one to hook up. So it's actually fitted on. Take that off. I'll show you. Oh, hang on. Make sure the leg as well. So that's the shoulder one. if it's threaded through the shoulder, then we don't have to worry about attaching a third loop. Because you've only got the shoulder and the head support's already there. Otherwise, you've got the extra one to add if you haven't got it. But as I said, the angle, sometimes if you've got someone that's got lots of movement, the head support angle direct to the spreader bar helps, particularly if you've got it on a really short loop or tight, then it helps to prevent forcing the head. So that's the options for the head support. Simple question.
What do you find the clearest way of describing how far to place the sling down behind the back?
Okay, let's just move this out of the way a minute. You've got to get it as low as you can. So if you're in a chair, you need to feed it down as low as you can towards the seat. So to get it as low as you can, if you go and get it to here, the leg sections are going to come around the hip and really into the groin. So it's really, really important to get it as low so the leg sections can go behind the knee. So if you know the leg sections aren't behind the knee, then the sling's either too far back, it could be that it's too big, but it will give you a good start that you've got it low enough. There's lots of ways to help you with slide mitts, slide sheets. If you've got someone that is able to transfer their weight a little bit to get it down or lean forward. But yeah, as low as possible. Don't worry about this top bit. As I said earlier, the top section will sort itself out and it doesn't matter if it's a bit long. But the key thing is to get it as low as you can.
Yeah, that's
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I was going to say something, I forgot now, thanks Jude. So the other, really, so this is one of our most popular. The other, something, another question there, was that?
It said, is it the lower the sling in the back, the less aperture for hygiene?
Yeah, the lower, so this style will cut the bottom. It's designed to cut the bottom. So this particular style, they vary with access. But this is because we're leaving it on, we want to avoid base spine. So we're trying to avoid any bony bits. So it will cut the bottom, so there is reduced access. If you look at the photographs on the website though, you'll see the aperture. But sorry, I just thought about that, another question, another explanation. Jude, if you just sit back. Leaving this in, people will maybe query the aperture because it's leaving it in, will it cause a problem with pressure? If the leg sections are then eased to the side, which they can be because you can ease them out with this type of fabric, then you're reducing what's left underneath. So if you're worried about the aperture, but the option's there, the aperture's there because you can access for hygiene. The style is good because of those paddle legs for anyone active. So you've got to weigh it up. It's all about a balanced approach to what's suitable. But the options are for you to decide on. This is the best option for my patient. They're very active. They're very asymmetrical. I need a deluxe shape. Because if they're not like, if you don't want an aperture, then we have to look at a sling without one, which, thanks Jude, is the recline. So this is the other option without the aperture. So this would have to be put on the bed. Like that. Put on the bed, no aperture for hygiene, and it's got a pommel that will come between the legs. So you can't adjust it for your asymmetrical shapes, your wrigglers. I would say anyone that's got lots of movement, then it's not quite such a good design. However, I've got one here, dude. To bring this one in. Because I've got this model as a double amputee. So earlier we talked about what would you use if you've got high amputation, or through hip, then the in-situ recline is a good option. So this is the one that has the pommel. This comes between the legs, and then you've got the side tapes there, go through the inner one. So this, and then we'll go on long. Shoulder tape there, long and longer. Is another very popular leave-in option. But I would be mindful if you've got someone that's very active, they need a bit more support from the deluxe legs. But for this situation, then we've got this type of scenario here where you've got like a seat for high or through hip. But very, very popular for lots of other things as well. It also comes this style. So this is the in-situ recline. It comes with a loop for your hip tape. So very popular for hooking up. But the drawbacks for this one is that you can't adjust the legs. So if you're asymmetrical shapes, if you've got someone really active who extends, then it might shoot up into their groin. So this is a tricky one. This would have to be left in place. So once it's applied on a bed, transfer, it would have to be left in. You can take it out, but it's very fiddly to get back in under the patient.
What about wheelchairs? Would it fit into a standard wheelchair?
Yeah, but it's getting it in and out. So you need, I would say, the majority of people would leave it on. We do them with an aperture of hygiene, but then you've got to think there'll be a hole that you would be sat on. So, you know, there's all these choices. I know it can be confusing, but it's just to give you those choices. I've got actually just quickly, this is a chair. I don't know whether anyone's interested in the chair. This is a specific chair now it's a tilting space. Very, very clever. Tilting space. Day chair that tilts back. You can actually turn it into a day bed. It's got patented airbags in which really help they're interlinked to distribute weight, so really good pressure relieving. The leg sections come up, the wings open out, so you can do a side transfer. There are lots of features. If you are interested, please have a look at the website. We do have lots of ways to bring them out to you to demonstrate. So I know it's one of those things that you need to see, but just quickly thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, we've got assessments throughout the country.
Yeah. Any questions, Brie?
No, I think you've covered them. Already.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're nearly there. The other, I think I'm mindful of time. The other one of our popular ones will be for a different hoist. So far we've seen the loop fixings that go on the standard type coat hang spreader bars, but a hook type situation like this or a wishbone, then we have to use a specific sling with the clips on. So these are the clips that lock on. Mostly acute settings will have this, but they lock on to the wishbone there. So if you have this type, we can only use a specific type of shape. This is our high easy range. So you can't add any other shapes. So have a look at the website. There is a section for loops and clips, and it will show you the options there. But hoists are really important. The success of the sling is also down to sort of hoist suitability. This one we've been using actually is quite narrow, the width here. And it's important that you've got one as wide as the widest point, because if you've got someone that's more shapely and you're using something small, it's going to, all the sling tapes are going to be doing this, and that can cause a lot of discomfort. So always check the spreader bar width. on occasion, you might need something that opens up the pickup, so you have a 4-point, so here and here. So instead of doing that, the tapes are taken out, open it up. So for many challenging situations, it might be that you need a 4-point. But you know, we've got lots of ways to help with hoists as well now. So please just ask. One final sling, sorry to rush everybody, is a harness. It's a really popular little paediatric harness that we issue many of these. And it is the Rachel harness. And the Rachel harness is a little harness that's put on like in the waistcoat. So we've got one here. It's a little waistcoat. It's got shoulder openings so that if you have got problems with getting arms into a jacket, then it's then like a tabard. So you can either open the shoulder or clip that too together. And then it zips up here, and then the groin section comes through. So often mums will put these on to go to school, and then the tapes are at school. So the tapes are detachable, but they're here, shoulder, front and back. There. So if hoisting is required, then you've got support there. Lots of benefits. So it was designed originally for an able-bodied toddler whose mum couldn't lift them. So Dad would put the little jacket on, and then he was trained enough to get to a position where she could clip in the tapes and then hoist him into his chair, his high chair. But subsequently now we know they're successfully used for many things in class. So for example, if we've got this youngster in class, then they've got the tapes attached to the hoist. Do you want to hold those two? Like that. So rather than all their energy going on trying to sit up, then the hoist is either overhead or behind, is hoisting them to hoist and support them so they can carry out their duties and their activities. Also really good for play and to encourage therapy things like standing, natural patterns of movement from the floor to kneeling, high kneeling and standing, stepping. We know it's being used on an overhead for dance class, so youngster can just feel their feet. But adults as well. I mean, they're most popular for children, but certainly adults have benefited too. The fabric is a mesh, it's a lightweight mesh. And, you know, it's got a little zip there in the fastening. So a really popular. Can't think of any other scenarios, can you?
No.
Just to practice, you know, we know the benefit of harnesses to get somebody upright, feel their feet. And you know, that this is one of our great popular ones. Again, there's really good videos on the website to have a look at. Question?
I'm just going to mention, obviously, it can be used like that as well, can't it?
Yes. So good point. Thanks, Ray. It comes with a hip tape. So the hip tape, that's it. If we just try and recreate it, if you just take the chair, I'll take the chair. You can hold them there. On the other side, please. So we've got a tape here. And if you take the front tape off, and you'll see it on the website, attach the hip tape. It will help to get into a prone position or over a wedge. The hip tape helps to do that positioning like that. So you just take off the front one and just, it will come with that extra tape at the hip. Another question?
Yes. There's a couple. Do you still provide the In-Situ Deluxe in Parasilk?
Interestingly, that came up yesterday, and Parasilk seems to be coming back, and I don't know why. So when I talked about the In-Situ fabrics, I said the superfine, the lightweight one, the double layer, the spacer, the black spacer one. We originally did Parasilk, and those that perhaps know us well, for many years, we did this slippy fit fabric, which we used to call our moulded wheelchair sling. And it was made of 2 very fine layers of Parasilk. And it became out of fashion because it's very slippy. It's very, very slippy. It causes overheating. And if you've got someone in a standard chair like that, they'd be slipping and sliding everywhere. So although we can still do it, we would sort of make you check and ensure that you've got either a matrix or a moulded chair so that there's no risk of it slipping. But I would be more successful with Superfine and Superfine Plus. But that's not to say we still can do it, yes. I don't think we advertise it, do we?
The positive really is if you don't want to use it as a leave-in, it does apply like a
Yes.
very easily. If you've got like a divided leg, it will insert
Really easily.
very easily.
So for those that aren't aware of it, it's a bit like a parachute fabric. So it's really fine, and we make the sling in 2 layers so that they there's no shearing. They move like that. But bear in mind that it's very slippy.
Certainly not
Yeah.
recommended for baby.
No, not for baby.
I know some people have asked that question before.
Yeah.
No, that's too slippy.
Another question?
Is there a lot of pressure through the groin with the ritual?
Okay, so again, it's all down to risk assessment, isn't it? You've got to make sure you've got the groin straps tight to keep this in place. If you've got the straps and it's going up like that, then you need to keep this down so that it helps to lift. If you've got someone that has got absolutely no tone, it's going to fall to that position there. We can pad it. It is padded, but we can add extra padding. But it would all depend on the individual situation.
Just one more.
Yeah.
What would you say are the reasons for using a fast fit deluxe that cannot be left in situ?
Yeah.
Compared to using in-situ sling?
Okay, so the Fast Fit Deluxe, for those that can remember, was the very square one at the beginning with the very square legs that did that, or divided. It's really bulky. So it's a very big, generous shaped sling because it can do all sorts of things. So the reason we don't make an in-situ version is because it's just so bulky. So the In-Situ Deluxe has got that slight shaping, as I said, to mirror image the body, and the fabric, of course, will stretch around the curvatures, but it's more discreet. And you've not got all that excess fabric. The deluxe, in fact, let me show you. If you just hold that, we can visualise it. Let me look that away. You like? So this is the standard one, which we just talked about, the Fast Fit Deluxe. You can see how big and square that is. Whereas this one has got this shaping here. Just hold it up. You hold it straight out. That means it curves in to come around the legs, so you haven't got all this fabric. The key thing is, if someone's leaving a sling in, they don't want all the fabric hanging over. A lot of people want it to be discreet. So the leave-in deluxe leg is shaped differently.
The deluxe has a head support, but we do them without.
Yeah,
So
it comes with or without, absolutely.
You've got that option. You just have to state that you don't want a head support.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah,
Oh.
I'd say so. Obviously, the material too is also
The materials. So yes, the materials. Thinking you can have. This is the superfine one, the lightweight one, or the double layer, which will take it to a heavier weight, or the black spacer, which will take it to the 220 or 35 stone. But if you're thinking of a leave-in one, look on the website for the in-situ section. It will give you the individual shapes, but it also reminds you of the fabrics and their weight limits. So it's all there. So you don't have to remember all this information, which I know is very, very confusing, and there's so much of it. But please just come to us. If you have a query, you're not sure, you've forgotten, then email. We've got a fabulous customer service team they will help as much as they can. We're happy to link up like this if you've got individual scenarios. We've got good support throughout the country now with business development men and people that will help. So please just come, ask, and we'll help as much as we can. We're happy to do this sort of session to individual teams. We do a monthly one on different subjects, but if you've got your own team that you think would benefit, please just ask. It's easy for us to set up quickly. But the next one I think is February
Pediatric.
on paediatric slings. So we'll cover the most popular paediatric sling solutions that we've come across. So if you're interested, please sign up for that. Any more questions?
No.
Sorry, I've gone over, and I know we do tend to allow an hour, so please bear with me if we do. I always think we'll get through it quicker, but we sometimes don't. But thank you very much for your time. Thank you to Judith and to Rhiannon for all their help as well. And hopefully we'll catch up with you at the next session. But thank you guys very much. Thank you.
Bye.